Hey, thanks for tuning in. Today we're discussing 10 things that you need to know about building a new property in Australia. Whether you're a seasoned new property investor or whether you're brand new to new property, make sure you stick around to the end because if you're not aware of some of these points, it could be costing you major money. As always, if you're getting value from this video, please make sure you like and subscribe and tick the little bell so that you're notified with each new video we upload. Number 10, different designs and architecture cost different amounts of money. I see this time and time again where people go to an architect, they get some fancy design and then they come and try and get it priced up. Architects are very good at making things pretty. However, they don't always have the best knowledge of what's happening in the building and construction market at any one time. It's worth noting that anything outside of normal can cost you a lot more money. This is particularly a big issue in Australia at the moment. We're seeing trade shortages and we're also seeing supply shortages. Anything that's a little bit different at the moment can be quite expensive to build. So if you are going down the track of getting a fancy design drawn up, make sure you're in consultation with a builder as well to make sure that you're not going to be overpaying for it. One of the things we're seeing is that trades particularly are wanting to take the easy jobs. So anything that's a little bit different means that you're going to struggle to get trades there. It may also result in significant time delays. So just make sure if you're going to get fancy with your architecture that you actually have a way of getting it built. There's no point getting a fancy design done and then discovering that no builder actually wants to touch it. It's also important to realize that when comparing different build prices, if there are architecture or parts of the build that are outside of normal, it's really difficult to compare the two builds. So just remember, it's not always about how pretty something looks. You need to be able to actually get it built. The other thing too is that these fancy designs can result in significant time delays. Okay. Understanding your relevant state building authority. This is one, unfortunately, that is really important at the moment. Really important at the moment, particularly with builders going broke. You need to understand who your state authority is and what your rights or processes are in the result that your builder doesn't do the right thing. For example, in Queensland, we have the QBCC, the Queensland Building and Construction Commission. If you are building new in Queensland, you need to know who they are and you need to know what your process is if things don't go to plan. And you also want to understand if they're insuring your build, what the payout amount is, what the process is. For example, in Queensland at the moment, a lot of people don't realise that they're only going to be insured up to about $200,000. So if things go wrong, there may not be enough money there to cover the process. Whenever you're looking at a new builder, you should be jumping on your relevant state licensing authority and doing a license check. I do it all the time. I might put the link on the screen now to show you how to do it in Queensland. It's really straightforward. Have a look at the license, have a look at the licensee's history, make sure they are actually licensed to build the property that you're wanting them to build, and just do a little bit of due diligence through your relevant state building authority. Understand your build contract and make sure it's fixed price where possible. A lot of people are coming unstuck with this recently. There's been a lot of price rises in both trades and supply. This has resulted in a heap of price rises happening to people across Australia with their new builds. It's really important that you understand which part of your contracts are fixed price and which parts the builder can come back to you for more money. Particularly at the moment, you want to understand this should be part of your budget. There should be some sort of margin for error there. Because if the builder comes back to you with price rises, and a lot of the time this is legitimate, it's costing them more money, they are then putting that cost onto the client. However, you need to be aware of where these expenses can come up and how much they could be so that you can have a buffer and a margin for error there. So understand your contract intimately and understand where, if anywhere, the builder can come back to you for more money. And if you can, get a fixed price contract. Okay, different blocks cost different amounts of money to build on. This is a really, really important one. I see it all the time. You can have two blocks of land right next door to each other. One might have a heap of fill on it. One has the original ground. The cost to put a slab on the one with all the fill is going to be significantly higher. You look at the two blocks from the street and you can't actually tell. You need to be able to undertake due diligence on your block and work out what the potential build cost implications for it could be. If you've got a slope block, then it's going to be significantly more expensive than a flat block to build on. You need to go through each part of your block and work out whether all the infrastructure's there, are the water meters there. Look, we'll put together a video on full due diligence of looking at new blocks of land, but you need to understand that different blocks cost different amounts of money to build on. So if you think you're saving money on the block, you may not be. Perfect example, you've got two blocks of land. One is bigger, which enables you to build a single level house. One's smaller, which means you have to build two-story. The fact you're building two-story is going to be significantly higher. So although you may be saving money by getting a cheaper block of land, it may actually be more expensive to build on. And this is something we're seeing time and time again. People come in, they think they've found themselves a bargain. When we actually look at the block of land and undertake an analysis, we find that they've actually cost themselves a lot of money. So make sure that when you're comparing blocks of land, you've actually got an expert there that can tell you what costs may be associated with each block, because different blocks cost different amounts to build on. There's so many different factors which will cause block price variances when you're building. So make sure you get somebody to compare the blocks of land, because you may think you're saving money, but it may end up that you're actually costing yourself a lot more in the build process. Design the house specifically for the block of land. This is a really important one. I see people fall in love with a certain design, but it never suits their block of land. So make sure that the house is actually designed for your specific block of land. Otherwise, you'll end up with a block that doesn't really work with that build. Okay, so make sure that that build is actually done specifically for your block of land. It doesn't have to be completely custom drawn. However, there are so many factors that come into good design work, and it's very, very difficult to actually get it right unless it's designed for that block. At the bare minimum, each design's going to need some tweaking to make sure it's got the best use of that block. And this is a really important one, because the final build result will be significantly better if you've made those changes at the start. Okay, construction loans are significantly different to standard investment or standard purchase loans. Make sure if you are going down the track of a new property build that you're dealing with an expert broker. This can make a lot of difference to the ease, the speed, and the amount of money that you end up paying at the end. We've got a lot of brokers that do this stuff every day. If you're interested, just send me an email and I will refer you to somebody who's an expert in new construction loans. This is really important, setting yourself up with the right loan, whether it's for an investment or whether it's for your own house. It's really, really important. So make sure you get that right from the start, because if you don't realize till halfway through the process that you've made a mistake, it becomes very expensive to fix. Okay, understand potential timeframes. It's really difficult to judge the exact time frame that's going to cost for a build. I see people comparing different prices. They'll come in and say, look, we've got this price from this builder. It's significantly cheaper than this price. However, if this builder isn't able to build effectively at speed, then it's going to cost you more when the time frames blow out. You need to understand your contract, and you need to make sure that you understand what the liquidated damages clause is. So each build contract will have a certain number of days that it takes, that they're allowed to take to build, and then they'll have things such as rain delays, public holidays, etc. Let's just say hypothetically it's 280 days. After that period of time, they will have a liquidated damages clause, and it may be something like each day that they're over that time frame, they'll pay you $50 a day. However, that $50 a day is probably not going to cover your interest costs. So make sure that you understand what the liquidated damages clause is and how much it's going to be costing you to service that loan. So remember, particularly at the end of the loan period, so if you're building a house it'll tend to be that you settle the block of land and then each construction drawdown's done. So it'll be slab, frame, etc., etc. But by the time you're getting delays at the end, you're servicing a debt on the whole amount of money. So it's costing you a lot of money. So each day that the builder is late, you're in debt. The other thing too is if it's an investment property, each day that you don't have a tenant in there can be costing you money. I've seen so many examples where people are really slow in the handover process. And each week that they're not getting rent, they're servicing the loan and they're also not getting money from the potential tenants. So it's costing them thousands of dollars each month that they extend that period out. So make sure you are really efficient in that handover period. And if there's anything from you that can make things quicker, make sure you're getting onto it. So the speed at which a builder can build your property will save you a lot of money. And if it's your own home, for example, you're probably going to be paying rent or living with your mum and dad. So each day that you're not moving into your new property is either costing you money or doing your head in. Okay, costs and where they can be hidden. Make sure you understand potential costs and where they might be hidden within your contract or within the build process. Generally, it's worth noting stamp duty is going to be applicable to the land, or if it's a single contract, then you're going to be paying stamp duty on the whole amount. So make sure you factored that into the equation. This also knits in fairly intimately with what we were discussing before regarding build contracts. Make sure you know the build contract inside out, have an expert go through it and know where you may be hit up for more funds, because that's something that's been happening a lot recently. Choosing the right builder for the right job. This is really important. We have worked with builders over the last 10 or 15 years. We know them really, really well. And in each instance, there are going to be certain builders that can undertake a certain job better than another builder. We don't believe there's one builder that can build every type of property. I think a builder that tries to build every type of property is probably spreading themselves too thin and is going to end up in trouble. I think it's best to deal with a builder that specialises in a certain property type. Not every builder is going to be able to build townhouses, NDIS, rooming houses, dual occupancies, duplexes, high-end one-off type architectural designs. Every different type of house probably needs a different expert builder, and I think you need to make sure that you're dealing with an expert that understands that build. So make sure you do your due diligence, and this works into the last point that we're going to discuss. Choosing the right builder and undertaking due diligence. I've done videos on this, but I'm going to go through a few of the key points. This is one of the most important things you can do. You need to understand undertaking due diligence on your builder is so vitally important, particularly at the moment. If you've been monitoring what's been happening in the Australian new property building scene, you will notice that there has been a significant number of large builders that have gone under. Now, we want to try and avoid that if possible. Over the years we've dealt with builders, we have generally known in advance when that builder's gone under because of our network, the people we're talking to. If you are involved with a builder that goes under, it can be a very costly situation. It's something you want to try and avoid where possible. So undertaking due diligence can get rid of a lot of that risk. However, it's not always going to be the case. I just want to outline some really important points for you that you should be doing. So let's run through them. Firstly, as I mentioned before, you need to undertake a builder's license check with your local authority. If you're in Queensland, that's the QBCC. It's really straightforward to do a builder's license check. On there, you want to check what they're licensed for, how many builds they did last year and to what value, the amount, how many $1 million, etc. they were allowed to build for. You also want to make sure, have they had any rectification works? So have any clients come back to them through the QBCC and said, we need this work rectified? If that is the case, have they actually rectified the work? Most builders will have some rectifications. It's the nature of the game. What is important is that they are actually going out there and rectifying the work. The fact that they're fixing it is probably more important than the fact that they had to fix it in the first place. We need to make sure that these builders are following up on what they need to do. Okay, how long have they been operating? This is an important one. However, in recent times, we've actually seen some very, very experienced and stable builders that have gone under. However, I do genuinely believe that a builder who has been building for a long time is probably less likely to be in trouble than a new builder. We've seen a lot of these new builders, they just don't quite understand the complexity and the financial involvement that it takes to run a building company. As I mentioned, you want to know what their allowable turnover is. Something that's happened particularly during COVID, a lot of builders got very excited when they saw the opportunity to undertake a heap of build contracts, and they got themselves in trouble. A lot of the more seasoned builders saw all the work and realised that it was causing a problem for both supply and trades, and actually held back. So the smarter builders weren't taking on the thousands of contracts. The new builders got a bit excited, saw the potential for a heap of contracts, and took on more work than what they were capable of. So make sure you're dealing with a builder that's not taking on too many contracts all at once. And you can look at what they've built in the past and make sure, hang on, how quickly is this builder growing? Have they gone from 10 jobs one year to 150 jobs the next? Whilst building is scalable, you want to make sure they're not scaling too quickly, because that's where they get themselves into trouble. Go through some of their previous work. Now, when I say go through their previous work, I don't mean go through their display homes. All display homes look good. That's the point of them. The builder will make sure their display home looks good. You want to go through some of their standard builds, some builds that they've got under construction at the moment. Have a look around, see what they're building. If possible, you may not be able to do this, but we chat to some of their trades, supervisors, etc. But have a look at what they're building now. Make sure that their quality is there throughout the different build processes. Don't just rely on display homes. Make sure you're looking at some of their standard builds too. Particularly at the different stages of construction, you can actually get a really good idea of each of those processes and making sure that they're doing the right things. Obviously, I've discussed it before, you need to go through their contract. You need to make sure that everything is included. You also want to see what fixtures and fittings they are putting in there. When they say builders range, try and get those brands. Make sure they're putting in high quality brands. When you're comparing builders, make sure you're comparing the brands and the quality of the fixtures and fittings, not just going, here's a 422, here's a 422. Make sure if you're comparing apples with apples, not apples with oranges, as the saying goes. And insist on a fixed price contract. This one's really, really important. I've seen it over and over recently. Inexperienced people signing build contracts that aren't fixed price. The builder quite rightly comes back to them for more money because it's costing them more. However, if you've got a fixed price contract, you don't have to worry about that, providing it is actually fixed price. So make sure that you are minimizing the risk of potential cost blowouts through your build contract. That's really, really important at the moment. Okay, we've also discussed it before. Liquidated damages clauses in your build contract. Make sure that every day the builder is late on what they said they were going to deliver, that you are getting paid for it. Even if it's just $50 a day, make sure you know when that liquidated damages clause kicks in and how much each day that you're going to get paid, because each day the builder's late, you're servicing a debt on your block of land and your build, and it's going to be costing you money. So if the builder's late due to their incompetence, they should be paying you money as well. Okay, this one's really important. I want to make this point. A builder can only be as good as their individual trades. I think people sometimes lose sight of what a builder is. They think a builder builds the whole house. Well, a builder is sort of more like a project manager these days. They manage a heap of different trades, whether it be landscapers, painters, plumbers, electricians. I mean, the list goes on and on. There could be 15 or 20 different trades that come together to build a house. The builder themselves can only ever produce quality as good as their worst trade. So it's really important that you get a builder that has good long-term trade relationships. That's going to mean that you get a higher quality product. It also probably means that you're going to get a better time frame. When you're dealing with a brand new builder, if they don't have those well-established trade relationships, that's where quality starts to lapse and time frames start to blow out. So make sure you get a good builder who has good trade and subby relationships, okay? Because they can only ever be as good as their trades. People lose sight of what a builder is. You need to make sure that each of those individual trades are good as well. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you've got some value from that. As always, if you've got any questions regarding what we've just discussed or any new property questions in general, the email address is on the bottom of the screen now. Shoot through an email, ask@newproperty.com.au, and one of our experts will get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.